The Americans with Disabilities Act.
In the disability rights movement have been the streams of constant change, for the worse, for the better, in flux it has remained. But to move it with decision toward human dignity, gathered as one, there was work to be done, for we held only part of the key. ADA, we stand as one to see it through. ADA, we stand as one, see it through. Civil rights overdue.
For many years, people with disabilities were locked away, hidden away, forced away into segregated settings so that they weren't present in the community.
There were no lifts on buses. There was no way that I could ride a public transit. But my job was to answer the phone, say, hello, Capital Metro, how can I help you? Where are you at? Where are you going? What time you want to be there? I told people how to get on the buses and where to go, and I couldn't even ride the buses myself.
Civil rights overdue, but to shape new legislation based on laws as then in place, bringing power to the people whose lives these things embrace. So we formed a coalition, and the system surely moved. It's the law today, it's the ADA.
The struggle to get 504 of the Rehab Act passed, the regulations written and passed, was an incredible cross-disability, folks with cognitive disabilities, psychiatric disabilities, deaf, blind, chair users. Everybody came together with a tremendous amount of fire in the belly to get that law passed. That was the first civil rights law for people with disabilities. The same thing happened again in 1990 when there was the possibility that the ADA wasn't going to pass, and ADAPT and other disability rights organizations descended upon Capitol Hill. They had sit-ins in the rotunda of the Capitol. People crawled up the steps of the Capitol, and it became clear to Congress that they needed to pass this.
I think probably the highlight for me was when Jude and I were able to go to Great Falls on one of Justyn Dart's stops in Montana when he did a listening tour. And just to meet him, he truly was that person that got ADA out there. His visits to all 50 states made such a huge impact because he gathered stories, and Congress simply couldn't deny that discrimination was alive and well. People with all types of disabilities laid out all the barriers that they faced with trying to get a job, trying to advance in employment, just trying to participate in the communities. I mean, it was an awesome effort on his part when you think of the logistical challenges that go into just travel by wheelchair anyway, and hitting all 50 states twice as part of that effort to not only gather those stories, but he was such an inspirational leader. He got people fired up. He got them to understand that this truly was a civil rights issue.
This historic act is the world's first comprehensive declaration of equality for people with disabilities. The first. I now lift my pen to sign this Americans with Disability Act and say, let the shameful wall of exclusion finally come tumbling down. God bless you all.
Is just the sheer idea that the ADA represents. It reflects sort of a culmination of the development of the disability rights movement and a rallying point for very broad groups of people with disabilities. But it also conveys broadly the notion that by the way we design our communities, the way we design our programs, has an effect on whether people will be able to participate in the community. So the ADA has made it pretty obvious that the accessibility modifications and community design really have an effect on allowing people or providing an opportunity to participate.
ADA covers, in 5 titles, covers a huge part of human existence. It covers employment, it covers governmental services, it covers public transportation, it covers access to public accommodations, private businesses basically, and it covers telecommunications.
ADA isn't an entitlement. It's a promise, and that's why I really like the phrase, it's an opportunity to compete. Because ADA doesn't promise me a career. ADA doesn't promise me life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't promise me an education. It doesn't promise me the right. It doesn't promise me the ability, or it doesn't fill out a ballot for me when it comes to accessible polling places. But it promises that if I as an individual have the desire and the knowledge to do those things, ADA promises that I will be able to do them without being discriminated based on how I look, how I act, or anything related to my disability.
The ADA now makes it so that people with disabilities can be an equal part of their communities and give to their communities and be a whole part of a community.
It's been there for 20 years and it will continue to be there in terms of accessible curb cuts, just the program changes that need to happen within a service. I see how people who are older are benefiting from the Americans with Disabilities Act and all the work that the disability community put into the ADA and getting it passed. And I also see how the young people who were born in the last 20 years are benefiting because once they're out of school, there really isn't the same kind of everyday support for them that they might have been used to. And so it's there and it's building and it's pretty exciting right now.
I think in a much better position now because of the ADA 20 years down the road. The ADA was a very good tool. We'd be further along right now if it would have been adopted earlier. Instead of the 20th anniversary, if we were looking at the 30th or 40th or 50th anniversary of the ADA. But I think things have certainly changed over the last 20 years because of it.
Because we're the ADA generation, that there has never not been the ADA for us. Just listening to these stories of the struggles and how much work they actually had to do just to get, basic rights with 504 and then, actual civil rights in 1990. And I think that's the part that's the coolest for me too, is watching the young people hear that history and know that there weren't always curb cuts. They weren't always allowed to go to school. A lot of them wouldn't have even been able to get into the mall.
We have to decide what kind of society that we have, what kind of values that we hold, what kind of morality will we adhere to when it comes to what our responsibility is to our neighbors, whether they have disabilities or not.
we got a copper mine that runs it 24 hours a day. Some real close friends of mine work there, shoveling dirt and getting paid. It's a city that was built in blood and sweat and hard work of our granddads. They dug it a mile high and a mile deep and passed it on to us young lads. Well, I'm real damn proud to be where I come from. It's a big sky country in the land of the setting sun. And if you got a problem with that, I got something to say.